we can get this economy moving in the right direction. Chris, Matt, hold your hand up there.
Well, that's kind of scary. We had 4 Romney supporters. We only all 4 Romney supporters. Okay.
All right. How about Rick Santorum? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
7.
All right. How about Newt Gingrich?
About 10. Now, in the interest in fairness, we took listeners from the general public, and we had more folks show up for Gingrich and Santorum than we did Romney. So we want to be very careful that we say that. The Romney supporters were asked, but they apparently all go to bed very early.
One.
How about Ron Paul? Ron Paul. Stimulate the economy.
How many of you here feel that none of the 4 potential GOP nominees really have a plan that you're excited about in year 1 to move this economy in the right direction?
About 7 or 8 of them. Just for kicks, Matt, I'm curious. I don't want to take us off our track. How many of you, if Chris Christie got in the race tomorrow, would switch your support to Chris Christie? Not one.
Wow.
How many of you, if Jeb Bush got in tomorrow, would switch your support? 3, 4, 5. How many of you, if Sarah Palin got in tomorrow, would switch your support? 2.
2 guys over here. Very interesting. How about Congressman Alan West from Florida? If Alan West got in the race, how many of you, hold your hands up there.
About half.
Half of the room. Is it because you
For the record, the Mormon guys did not say yes. I'd like to offer that into evidence. I'm just saying. Oh, okay, yeah, okay, all right.
Is that attraction to you his conservatism, his military service, or wouldn't it be an interesting race if we had 2 African Americans going back to the... All of the above. Which one would you rate number 1? Is conservatism? How many of you would rate Alan West conservatism as the most interesting aspect of that? How many of you would his military service you feel is important? How many of you would like to see 2 African Americans?
How many of you would like to see 2 black guys? Let me ask this. Vice presidential candidates. How many of you would most like to see Alan West as the vice presidential candidate, whoever the nominee is? About half. How many of you Marco Rubio?
About a quarter of the room? Quarter of the room?
About 40%. How many of you would like to see the number 2 candidate? If it's Romney, you'd want Santorum. If it's Santorum, you'd want Romney. How many of you would like to see that? How many of you would like to see Ron Paul as the vice presidential candidate if he doesn't win the nomination? Rand Paul. About, there were none for Ron Paul, by the way. There were about 15 for Rand Paul. Go ahead, Matt.
That's very, and see, the reasons that we ask, Cody asked, why do you ask such things? Why do you ask? Because that is something that is going to come into play. I think it is important that we ask these questions.
Not true. Bilderberg told us to.
That was...
Just saying. We're required.
You got to remember, during this election, nothing is off the table. You've seen it. And the liberals are going to use everything in their arsenal. So I think it's very, very important in a town hall. That's what we talk about. Nothing off the table. That's why we ask those questions, because I think it is good that we know. Chris?
As conservatives, we don't care what the race is. We care about what their values are and where they stand on the issues. And that's what we need to focus on.
Chris, I agree with you. But you do realize that race is something that the left loves to use when they don't want to argue about their record, when they can't defend their record.
And that's also a very white thing to say, for the record. It's a very white thing to say. You got a listener back here.
Just to reply to him, you're talking about how important it is to stick to the issues. How many times has Mitt Romney flip-flopped and said that he was glad that the president was adopting Obamacare?
Well, well, hold on. I don't want to get into the crisscross of that, because then we'll get in. Y'all can fight afterwards. Go ahead, man.
Come on over here. Let me just. Did you want to respond to Chris?
Well, I think as pretty much the only minority in this room, I look kind of scared. It's a reason why. But there's a reason why I support Ron Paul, and there's a reason why the media isn't paying attention to him. So, in my opinion, the media doesn't pay attention to him, but the most attention he got was when they claimed that he had a racist newsletter in his argument.
It's true.
So it's the media that is designing a racial kind of conflict amongst conservatives or Democrats, but it's just a campaign ploy, in all honesty.
Well said.